Hi, my name is Rachel, and I live in Brooklyn. My daughter goes to school in District 15, and I am a high school teacher in Manhattan. And today's lesson is about why we're boycotting the PEP, why we need responsive, equitable, safe schools now. And since it seems like the mayor and the chancellor and the PEP are just going to keep ignoring us, it's time to end mayoral control because decisions should be made by those most impacted. So here's the context in March. So this is everything leading up to today's boycott. March, they didn't want to close the schools. Finally, they closed them. Folks died. Denial prevailed. April to July, gaslighting prevailed. August, erasure and toxic positivity prevailed. And finally, in September, democracy theater prevailed. So here we are at the PEP. This is our agenda. We're going to just go ahead and get started. So, first of all, what is responsiveness? It means paying attention, listening with care and empathy, showing someone they matter. So the question is, to whom should a school system be responsive? Well, I'm so glad you asked that question, PEP members and Chancellor. To its stakeholders, and that means students, families, and educators. Why? Why be responsive? Because education is grounded in relationships, right? We're social, we're human, we need interaction, and we need trust. Because without trust, there can't be risks. And without the ability to take risks, we can't have any learning. Now, what would responsiveness look and feel like? Well, we don't know. It's hard to say. We have not experienced it yet. But one thing we can say for sure that erasure, gaslighting, and toxic positivity will not be involved. What's equity? A lot of people find this confusing. They're like, equity, equality, I think they're the same. They're not. Let's look at the definitions. Equality means giving everyone the same thing, even if their needs are different. Equity means giving everyone access to the resources that they need to learn and to thrive. So a synonym would be fairness. So if we look over on the left, we see this image here. It's showing social justice being about equity, right? So we've got David, we've got Goliath. Hey, David, you can use this slingshot. That's equity, right? Because he actually needs it. Goliath, not so much. But down at the bottom, we see equality would be like, hey, slingshots for everyone. Sort of like equality was giving every family in the city a choice about remote or hybrid, whereas it would have looked like, equity would have looked like a safe phased reopening based on the highest need. So which of these should we prioritize? The answer, equity, because it leads to justice. And where we really need to see equity is in the resources. We need parents to stop hoarding resources through G&T, specialized high schools, and PTA fundraising. We need equitable opportunities, right? And that means, all kids deserve arts and enrichment, and no kids deserve a school to prison pipeline, right? And we really need to look at outcomes because even though standardized tests don't really measure anything worthwhile, when we see consistent disproportionalities, that reveals inequities and it needs to be addressed. We don't want any more excuses. So since we are in remote learning, let's chew on this in the chat. Let's think about the definitions of equality and equity that we just learned. Okay, PEP members and Chancellor, now look at these images. Consider what are some educational walls or barriers that we hear many parents promoting at the PEP, at CEC meetings, etc., town halls? What do you think causes some people to view education as a competition? How can we encourage more parents to pursue justice? And what can you, yes, you, PEP members and Chancellor, what can you do to address these inequities? Just drop those responses in the chat. All right, we're going to keep it moving. This quote, if you can't find the way to take the racism out of it, it shouldn't exist. I love that quote of the day. We're going to move on to talking about safety, right? And safety is really important because during a global pandemic in a school system that is chronically underfunded and plagued by systemic racism, safety is huge, right? Because unless we feel safe, our brains are actually hardwired to literally block our ability to learn.